Remember the good old days of GTA Online back in 2014 when owning any apartment with a Zentorno or Turismo R in the garage was considered rich and people would grind money with the San Andreas flight school missions? Then obviously we had things change drastically with the addition of DLCs that introduced new heists, roles, businesses, activities, and so much more, transforming GTA 5 Online from just another open world sandbox to a bona fide crime lord simulator where you are the author of your own story. In today's video, I'm going to do something special here. I'm going to rank every major DLC released to date so you know which ones suck and which ones rock. Just as a disclaimer here, I don't actually think there are really any DLCs that are objectively awful, but I do feel like some DLCs are designed a lot better than others, and that's what I'm going to be exploring in my rankings here today. We're starting with the bad tier first, which is the lowest rank, followed by mid tier, then good tier, and finally we've got S tier at the top. And speaking of bad tier, I have to put the ill-fated San Andreas Mercenaries in here. I know pretty much all of you agree with me when I say that the San Andreas Mercenaries update was one step forward, two steps backward. A prime example of this is the addition of excellent vehicles like the Monstrosity, the Buffalo EVX, the Stinger TT, and the Raiju, but in exchange, we lost 188 vehicles that were removed from in-game websites to quote-unquote streamline the shopping experience, at least according to Rockstar. Next in the bad tier is Arena War, which is a prime example of completely wasted potential. This is a business inspired by Mad Max and Death Race, packed to the brim with vehicular carnage featuring heavily weaponized death machines on wheels, and ultimately it is played by no one. Why did Arena War fail so hard? Let's see. No co-op, no way to play against AI in a solo lobby, forcing people to buy the same car 3 separate times so they can get all the different arena versions, awful payouts, and many of the arena modes that aren't even all that fun to play, so it feels like you're engaging in a monotonous grind with no proper reward in sight. So yeah, just poor game design choice all around. Cunning Stunts is another really good example of one of those updates that should have been way better than it was, but as it stands, the best stunt races are player created, and those are only the ones worth playing if you like stunt racing. When this DLC came out, I liked doing the races, but nowadays I never touch it. And if I do play stunt races occasionally, then it's just gonna be the community ones. So I can't really rank this update any higher in 2025, especially compared to everything else today. Our last entry in the bad tier is going to be the Freemode Events update. And this one is honestly a victim of time more than anything else, sort of like Cunning Stunts. Back when it was introduced in September 2015, it did encourage people to play free mode more often by adding a bunch of cool activities and features that were previously absent. Events like Dead Drop, Criminal Damage, King of the Castle, etc. All of this was really cool if you were playing in 2015, but now they're cool little mini games that you play on the side to waste your time. Ultimately though, they're nothing more than cute little distractions. All right, time for the mid tier now, and we're opening strong with the Diamond Casino and Resort update that came out in July of 2019. But wait, before you pull out your pitchforks, I'd like to remind you that this is merely the first part of that Diamond Casino saga, I guess you could call it. You know, the one that introduced the Diamond Casino location and associated master penthouse purchasable property, but didn't add anything else. The heist would come a lot later, and trust me, I'll do justice to that DLC when I rank it, but the best I could do for the actual Diamond Casino and Resort DLC is a solid meh rating. I guess all the gambling stuff is pretty cool if you like playing blackjack, poker, roulette, and slot machines, but remember that players from over 50 countries couldn't even access this property because of their local gambling laws, so they were understandably pissed off when Rockstar released an update that in their eyes was nothing more than a shiny new building to stare at, while every other part of the player base could walk inside and have fun with it. These guys couldn't even spin the lucky wheel unless they bought a VPN subscription, and that just absolutely sucks. Next up is the Doomsday Heist, and this update came out in 2017, a year that was already packed with insane amounts of content thanks to Smuggler's Run, the Gunrunning update, as well as even the addition of Cunning Stunts Special Vehicle Circuit, which was more of just a minor content update right there. And yes, we got all 4 of these DLCs in 1 year, and that's just how much GTA Online was thriving back in the day. But is the Doomsday Heist itself any good? From personal experience, I can say that it is by far the longest and most complex heist in the entire game, and that's why I love it. But for many players, I think they'll find that there are some pretty boring setups contrasted against some exciting finales, especially the ones in Act 2 and Act 3. Act 3's finale in particular is considered the hardest finale in the entire game, and unless you have a couple of good friends to play with, you're gonna constantly die to juggernauts and enemy vehicles. Like, good luck playing with randoms, that is. So if you like a challenge and you have your friends to team up with, the Doomsday Heist is obviously gonna rank way higher for you, and that's why I really love it. But I would say for just the average player who, you know, is playing solo and they have to matchmake with randoms, it's just not going to be worth the effort for most people. Next, we have the Smuggler's Run DLC, and this one in retrospect doesn't deserve anything above mid-tier ranking thanks to those god-awful air source and air cell missions. I do like some of the aircraft that this DLC added, like the Rogue, the Molotov, and the Starling, but other than some cool vehicles and a mediocre hangar business back in the day, there was nothing else to look forward to in Smuggler's Run. Obviously, Rockstar updated the hangar business recently over the past past couple years with different changes, but when this DLC released, it wasn't great, and there was a reason that Rockstar ended up updating it years and years down the line, and that's because players have been requesting those changes for forever. Further Adventures in Finance and Felony is one of those updates that seems benign at first glance, but once you look deeper, you realize that it might have played a key role in GTA's transformation from an open world action game to a business simulator. Everything that came afterwards, from bikers to gun running, all of that was built on the foundation laid by Finance and Felony. And this is the update that allowed players to purchase CEO offices and warehouses, and then they could hire associates to grind crates with them. Now I'm going to put this one in the mid tier purely from a content perspective because grinding crates wasn't fun even back then, but despite that, this update is one of the most important landmarks in GTA Online's history and helps steer the game in a different direction for better or for worse. Executives and Other Criminals is sort of like the precursor to Finance and Felony, as it introduced the VIP and CEO work like Asset Recovery, Executive Deathmatch, Sightseer, and Hostile Takeover. It added penthouse apartments, stilt apartments in Vinewood Hills, $10 million super yachts, and a bunch of expensive vehicles like the Buckingham Super Valido and turreted limo. But apart from the VIP and CEO work, there really isn't much else in terms of gameplay value here, so again, another mid ranking. Bikers is also getting a mid rating here, and here's why. When it came out, there was nothing like it. We finally got motorcycle gangs in GTA Online after years of anticipation. But over time, people realized that the missions were quite tedious and not friendly to solo players at all due to their mediocre payouts and repetitive mission structure. I think a lot of us enjoyed it back in the day, and I'd say it was definitely ahead of Finance and Felony in terms of fun factor for the first couple weeks of release, but that didn't really lead to anything cool. Even the MC businesses, most of them are just mediocre, even today, with the exception of maybe Cash and Coca-Cola. Bottom Dollar Bounties is just another mid-tier update, which had the potential to be great, but Rockstar dragged it down with the lack of mission variety, really long cooldowns on most wanted targets, and that god-awful van which you're forced to use even though you have a perfectly fine police car collecting dust in your garage that you could otherwise use. If we could use police cars, this one would honestly be a lot better in my opinion. Lowriders Custom Classics update planted the seed for car culture in GTA Online by introducing a bunch of cool lowriders and classic cars, plus it added Benny's Motorworks to the game, a place where you can install hydraulics, custom interiors, vinyls, and engine mods on a select range of customizable vehicles, and this was all really cool back in the day. But the Lowriders update felt like it ran out of steam halfway through, and it shall remain in the mid-tier for that reason. Several years later, we'd receive the Los Santos Tuners DLC, which picked up the ball that was dropped by Lowriders and managed to breathe new life into the GTA Online car tuning scene. We're getting into the good tier now, and the first entry here is going to be the content creator update. A lot of people take the early content creation scene of GTA Online for granted, but this game wouldn't be nearly as popular today were it not for the addition of custom death matches, custom races, and various other custom scenarios that were far more interesting than any official maps made by Rockstar, and this is what I spent a lot of time on back in 2014 leading up to 2015 before the Heists update. Basically, it's the equivalent of Halo's Forge mode, but for GTA 5. This update, combined with the Rockstar editor, is responsible for a lot of those early cinematic machinima style videos that were all over YouTube between 2014 and 2017, and those videos definitely helped bring in a ton of new players to GTA Online. Heists is also making it into the good tier here, not because it's excellent by today's standards once again, but because it was the first major update that GTA Online had received since its launch in 2013. And while the designs for some of these missions are a bit dated, they were the reason that so many of us OGs got into this game back in the day. And the Heist update also brought back a bunch of popular characters from story mode like Lester and Trevor, which made things much more enjoyable. It feels like going on one last adventure with your favorite pals from story mode, only this time you'll be accompanied by clueless randoms who can't fly planes and rage quit halfway through the heist you're doing. Import Export is another good tier DLC, and I don't have to elaborate too much on this one as it was the primary moneymaker for a lot of us back in the day. Even today, vehicle cargo is an excellent way to make money while staying true to the roots of Grand Theft Auto. So no flying bikes, no evil James Bond supervillains or nuclear submarines, just you, a fast car, and a bunch of armed enemies in pursuit, as it should be. Criminal Enterprises is up next, and this one was a landmark moment for several reasons. It brought increased payouts for OG heists and races, several quality of life changes, new events, all of that stuff. But most importantly, this is the update that finally allowed players to do business resupply and sell missions in invite-only lobbies. And for that reason alone, it might be the single most important update out of the last 5 years for this game. After Hours is the update that gave us the nightclub as well as the terabyte, the first being an excellent passive business and the latter being an excellent command center, but this update also introduced the absolute menace that is the Oppressor Mark II. Some see it as a blessing for grinders like me, others view it as something that doesn't belong in GTA at all because it ruins public lobbies. But that's a debate for another day. Right now, I'm gonna leave After Hours in the good tier simply because of the quality of its content. Gunrunning came out in the year 2017 and introduced the bunker as well as Mark II weapons and specialty ammo. The bunker is a mainstay of money making to this day and is one of the most chill businesses you can own. The only downside to this business is the research section, which acts like an artificial paywall to content that you wish to unlock, but as long as you can overlook overlook that little bit of inconvenience, the Gunrunning DLC was excellent all around. This update brought some awesome vehicles like the Bravado Half-Track, the Weaponized Tampa, the APC, the Night Shark, and several other vehicles that just made GTA Online a whole lot more of a fun game to play. Agents of Sabotage was released just last year, and I love the FIB files, so I'm gonna put this one in the good tier, no questions asked here. Rockstar would also drip feed more content a few months later in the form of the Oscar Guzman update and the Mackenzie Field Hangar, which I think is one of the more underrated heists in the game, both from a gameplay as well as a money-making standpoint. Money fronts will also be entering the good tier for me, as it opens up a gateway to 2 other businesses apart from the car wash. And the car wash itself is a nice source of both passive income as well as active income with missions that are short, sweet, and to the point. You also get buffs to the hangar, cash factory, and grass farm, so not only is money fronts a lot of fun on its own, but it also makes older content better, which is always a nice thing to have in a video game. Los Santos Tuners is the DLC that introduced the auto shop, and if you watch my channel, you know that I absolutely love this business, so Los Santos Tuners will absolutely make it into the good tier here for me. It revived the car modding scene by giving players their own mod shop that unlocks every mod irrespective of rank, and it also introduced the LS Car Meet along with several new races and vehicles. Overall, the LS Tuners update is a really fun DLC and definitely worthy of being in the good tier. Finally, to round things off in the good tier, we've got the Diamond Casino Heist. This is the update that finally made the Diamond Casino relevant after years of stagnation, and it gave players their first taste of a choice-driven heist with multiple approaches, a formula that Rockstar would later improve upon with Cayo. The insane amounts of money you make from this heist is another reason why I'm putting it at the top of the good tier. It's almost S tier. Just remember that while you can do all the prep work solo, you will need a duo for the finale. The first S tier update on my list is Los Santos Drug Wars, and this is the perfect example of how to do a DLC right in my opinion. Interesting story missions with a satisfying conclusion, a highly profitable business that's easy to manage, and you get all of it basically for free alongside a really cool Imani Tech electric supercar, the Ocelot Virtue, without having to invest any money at all. So there are 0 paywalls because all the missions that you do will pay for your investments that you need to make. And then the Chop Shop update is also making it into the S tier here, as it added the salvage yard, police vehicles, and the excellent Cluck and Bell heist. Cayo Perico is also making an S tier DLC, as it added the most open-ended heist in the game and the easiest way to make $1 million in under an hour. If you're bored, switch up your approach and try the Velum or Alkanost, or maybe pretend to be a drug smuggler if you do the Longfin approach, and enter the compound in your truck while wearing disguises. Cayo is only as entertaining as you make it out to be, and it's completely doable solo from start to end, which makes it one of the best pieces of content to ever be added to GTA 5 Online. And finally, at the absolute top, for the most amazing update of all time in this game, we have 2021's The Contract update. This update brings back Lamar and Franklin, introduces an exceptionally high value business in the form of the agency, adds Imani Tech so you can counter free roam griefers, and it also contains a bunch of Dr. Dre music as well as Dr. Dre himself, so if you're a fan of hip hop, you're gonna love this DLC. I think it's the best piece of content in the game right now still, and it'll probably stay that way until the arrival of GTA 6, so enjoy it while you can. And with that, we've completed the ranking up every single GTA Online DLC, at least all the most major ones. You know, there were monthly ones that came out late 2013, early 2014, and I know some of these rankings are gonna be different from what you guys were expecting, but remember that these are my opinions based on my preferences, and like I said, I'm only covering the most major of DLCs here, not the super minor monthly ones that came out at the beginning of this game's life cycle. So if you think one of those were one of the ones I missed out on as a particular update, or if you'd like me to rank something higher or lower, let me know down in the comments. I'm curious to hear your feedback. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Feel free to check me out over on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, specifically twitch.tv/hazardoushdtv. I will see you guys in the next GTA 5 online video. Adios amigos.